Right now, um, somewhere in a corporate office, a hiring manager is looking at a resume. And, let's just say it's your resume.
Let's hope so, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they actually like what they see. The education lines up, the formatting is really clean. But then they click over to your cover letter.
Which is where things usually go wrong.
Completely wrong. Because they glance at it for, I don't know, exactly 3 seconds, and then they throw both files straight into the digital trash bin.
Oh, yeah. It happens all the time.
Right. And why? Because you started the letter with "to whom it may concern." Or maybe you signed off with the word "cheers."
Just like that.
Just like that, an incredible entry-level candidate is just disqualified before they even get to make their case.
It really does happen thousands of times a day. And, I mean, the tragedy here is that the candidate usually has absolutely no idea why they were rejected.
They probably just blame their resume, right?
Exactly. They assume, well, I just didn't have enough experience. When in reality, they just failed this very basic psychological test of professional awareness. Yeah, the stakes for that single piece of paper, especially when you are just, stepping into the job market, they're incredibly high.
Which is exactly why you, our listener, are here today. Because, let's be honest, staring at a blank, blinking cursor when your whole future career is on the line is a pretty terrifying experience.
It's intimidating for anyone.
So today on this deep dive, our mission is to completely demystify the professional cover letter, specifically for the entry-level job seeker.
Right.
We are unpacking this definitive framework that basically breaks the whole thing down into 6 essential pillars.
And we aren't just going to, tell you where to put your name and address.
Oh, definitely not. We're going to really get into the psychology of the person reading this document and how you can, I guess, manipulate the architecture of a blank page to make them actually want to hire you.
To do that, we really have to establish the overarching philosophy of what this document actually is.
Okay, let's unpack this. What is it really?
Well, for an entry-level candidate, a cover letter is not just some formality. And it is absolutely not a summary of your resume.
Right, they already have your resume.
Exactly. It is the ultimate first impression. I mean, before an employer hears your voice, before they see how you carry yourself in an interview, they see how you organize your thoughts and, well, present your professional identity right on this one page.
So let's look at the very top of that page. Because before you can even attempt to convince an employer of your incredible problem-solving skills, you really have to prove that you understand professional boundaries.
Yes.
Like, you have to establish psychological safety for the reader.
Yeah.
They basically need to know you aren't going to be a liability in their workplace.
That is a really great way to frame it. Professional safety. And that starts with pillar 1, which is a formalized header.
Right.
It seems entirely basic, I know, but the volume of people who get this wrong is staggering.
I can only imagine.
A standard professional cover letter must begin with a clean header that tells the hiring manager exactly who you are and how to reach you without them having to hunt for it.
I always kind of look at this through a digital lens. Think of it like the metadata of a great file,
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, like when you send a file to a colleague, the metadata tells their computer exactly what they're looking at, who created it, how to interact with it all without taking up like unnecessary bandwidth.
Right.
So your full name, your phone number, a professional email address, and maybe a link to your LinkedIn profile or portfolio, that is your professional metadata.
And if your metadata is corrupted, the file is essentially useless.
Totally useless.
If you include like an unprofessional email address you've had since middle school, or you just forget to include a phone number, you've instantly broken that professional trust.
SkaterDude99 at Hotmail is probably not getting the call back.
Probably not, no. But a complete header actually goes a step further than just your own information.
Oh, right, the company's info?
Yes. Directly beneath your contact details, you include the date, followed by the employer's exact contact information. So the hiring manager's name, their title, the company name, and the physical company address.
Okay, wait, let me ask you about that. So if I'm applying for a remote tech job, right, do I still need to track down the physical headquarters of the company and put it at the top of my digital letter?
You do, yes. It anchors the document.
Really? Even if it's fully remote?
Even then, by taking the time to format their specific information onto your page, you are sending this subconscious signal that, hey, this document was created specifically for you.
Okay, that makes sense.
It establishes a baseline of professional competence and intention.
Which perfectly sets up the very next line of the page.
Yeah.
You've mapped out the metadata, you've proven you know exactly where the letter is going, and now, well, you have to say hello. Pillar 2, the salutation.
This is where the psychological filters really kick in.
Yeah.
The salutation sets the entire tone of the interaction. You should always, always strive to address the cover letter to a specific person, like Dear Mr. Smith or Dear Jane Doe.
Right, because addressing an actual human being feels infinitely more personal than just yelling into a corporate void.
Absolutely.
But earlier, I mentioned that phrase, to whom it may concern. And the framework heavily criticizes that phrase. Why does that specific greeting trigger such a massive, negative spam filter response in a hiring manager's brain?
Because it is the ultimate hallmark of a mass mailing campaign.
Oh.
When a hiring manager reads, to whom it may concern, what they actually hear in their head is, I am blasting this exact same generic document to 50 different companies today, and, well, I couldn't be bothered to figure out who you are.
Ouch. Yeah, that makes sense.
It just communicates a profound lack of effort. You are asking them to invest time and money into hiring you, but you haven't even invested 5 minutes into researching who they are.
Okay, but let me offer a hypothesis here, because I know our entry-level listener is definitely going to run into this. Yeah.
Sure.
What if I've scoured the internet, right? I've dug through LinkedIn, I've checked every single About Us page on the company website, and I absolutely cannot find the specific name of the hiring manager.
It happens.
Right, because sometimes companies keep their internal structures totally private. My instinct would be to just address the department. Is that a safer bet than falling back on to whom it may concern?
Your instinct is spot on. Employers know when their internal directory is private. They aren't going to penalize you for, not hacking their mainframe.
Good to know.
If you really cannot find the name, you maintain that professional boundary by addressing a specific title or department. So, Dear Hiring Manager or Dear Marketing Team, those are perfectly acceptable alternatives.
Dear Hiring Manager is just so much cleaner anyway. It basically says, I respect you enough to not use a generic cliche,
Yeah.
even if I don't have your specific name yet.
Precisely. You maintain the formality, you acknowledge the reality of the situation, and you keep that door open.
Okay, so you've bypassed the spam filter. You've proven you aren't just some robot mass mailing the entire tri-state area.
Right.
But respect doesn't necessarily equal interest. The hiring manager is still probably bored, looking at their 50th application of the day. How do you wake them up before their eyes completely glaze over?
Well, you have about 3 seconds to convince them to keep reading. That requires an opening paragraph that immediately justifies your presence in their inbox.
So we're at pillar 3.
Yes, pillar 3, it requires a hook.
Now, when I hear the word hook, my brain goes straight to, a Netflix thriller or a mystery novel,
It was a dark and stormy night when I realized I was born to do data entry.
Please do not write that.
Right, because we aren't writing fiction here. So how does a professional actually deploy a hook without sounding completely ridiculous?
A professional hook is entirely factual, but it is ruthlessly strategic. It's basically the most compelling fact about you, placed right at the front window of the store.
Okay, I like that. But before you even give them the hook, you do have to ground the conversation. You state the exact job title you are applying for and where you found it.
Just to clear up any confusion.
Exactly. I am applying for the junior analyst position listed on your careers page. That just removes any ambiguity. Then, in the very next sentence, you drop the hook.
And this framework outlines 3 distinct types of factual hooks that an applicant can use, right?
Correct. It can be a statement of pure enthusiasm for the role, a mention of a mutual connection, or a brief summary of a highly relevant accomplishment.
Let's view this through the lens of an entry-level candidate. The mutual connection is a massive advantage if you actually have it.
Oh, huge.
If you know the lead engineer and she told you to apply, you absolutely put her name in that first paragraph.
Always.
But if you're fresh out of college, you probably don't have the VP of sales on speed dial. So you have to rely on either enthusiasm or accomplishment.
Right, and what's fascinating here is that most people do enthusiasm entirely wrong.
Really? How so?
They just say, I am very excited to apply for this job.
Right.
That isn't a hook, that's just a feeling. A strategic enthusiasm hook ties your passion directly to their specific corporate mission or their product.
Can you give me an example of what that actually sounds like?
Sure, so instead of just saying you're excited, you say something like, as a longtime user of your software, I am thrilled to apply for the customer success role to help others experience the exact same seamless onboarding that made me a fan of your company.
Oh, wow. That is incredibly smart. You aren't just being a cheerleader. You are proving that you actually understand the product from the user's perspective.
Exactly.
You are already speaking their language.
But what about the accomplishment hook? I mean, if our listener's just starting out, what kind of accomplishment actually carries weight in that opening paragraph?
You leverage your academic background or your internships, but you frame them as actual results.
Okay, give me an example of that one. You could say, having recently led a capstone project that optimized supply chain routing for a local nonprofit, I am eager to bring my analytical problem-solving skills to the logistics coordinator position at your firm.
I love that. You've answered the basic requirement of stating what you want, but you've instantly signaled competence. You've grabbed them by the collar.
Yes, you have.
But a great hook is basically an empty promise if you can't back it up. If you grab their attention and then just deliver a boring monologue, they're still going to throw the letter away. Which brings us to the core argument of the document, Pillar 4, the body paragraphs.
This is your professional pitch, and the framework highlights a cardinal rule here that really needs to be permanently etched into every job seeker's mind.
And what's that?
Do not simply regurgitate your resume.
Yes. I always explain this using a culinary analogy.
Okay, let's hear it.
So if your resume is the list of raw ingredients in your pantry, the cover letter is the recipe.
I like that.
The hiring manager is already looking at your resume, right? They know you have flour, eggs, and sugar. They don't need you to write a letter saying, I possess flour, I also possess eggs.
Right, they can read the list.
Exactly. The cover letter is where you say, here is how I synthesize flour, eggs, and sugar to bake a cake for my last team, and here is exactly how I will bake one for you.
That analogy perfectly captures the mechanism at play here. A hiring manager isn't hiring a list of traits, you know. They are hiring a utility.
Right.
They are hiring someone to come in and do something very specific. So you have to synthesize your raw experience and connect it directly to the employer's actual needs.
And the framework specifically lists 4 categories of value that basically every employer on earth is looking for. You need to show how you have used your skills to either solve problems, generate revenue, save time, or lead a team.
Those are the universal languages of business. If you can prove you do one or more of those 4 things, you immediately become an incredibly attractive candidate.
Okay, but I have to step in and push back a little on behalf of our listener here.
Go for it.
Because if I am listening to this and I am just stepping into the entry-level job market, I hear phrases like generate revenue or lead a team, and I panic.
That's fair.
Right,
Okay.
because I haven't managed $1 million corporate budget. I haven't been a CEO. My instinct is that this advice is meant for senior executives, not someone whose last job was, on a college campus.
It is a very common anxiety, but it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what hiring managers are actually looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Okay, explain that.
They know you haven't been a CEO. They aren't looking for $1 million figures from you. They're looking for a specific mindset. You have to take your non-corporate experience and kind of run it through a corporate translator.
So how do we translate something like working at a campus coffee shop into saving time or solving problems?
Let's break it down. Did you ever train a new barista during the morning rush?
Sure. I mean, most people who work retail have trained someone at some point.
That is leading a team under pressure. Did you ever reorganize the stockroom or like the cup stations so that the opening shift could get set up 10 minutes faster?
Wait, that's a major perspective shift. You're taking a standard retail task and you're framing it as operational efficiency. You literally saved time and solved a bottleneck problem.
Exactly. The underlying skill is exactly the same as what they do in a corporate office. It's just applied to a different environment.
That makes so much sense.
You just frame your academic projects, your internships, or your extracurriculars around those 4 pillars of value.
Right.
If you manage the budget for a student club and you cut event costs by, say, 15% by negotiating with a new local vendor,
You solved a problem.
you solved the problem, you exhibited leadership, and you essentially saved money, which impacts a bottom line just like generating revenue does.
When you explain it like that, it completely removes the imposter syndrome. It's
Yeah.
not about needing 10 years of corporate experience. It's about looking at what you have done through the lens of what the employer actually cares about. Yeah.
Exactly. You are proving that even at the entry level, you possess a problem-solving mindset.
You're showing them the recipe.
And when a hiring manager reads a paragraph like that, their brain immediately categorizes you differently. You stop being just a student and you become a professional in their eyes.
All right, so you've made this data-backed argument. You've translated your campus job into corporate problem solving, The hiring manager is nodding along.
Yeah.
But now we hit pillar 5. You have to actually ask for the job. And this feels like a total psychological minefield. If you are too passive, you look weak. If you are too aggressive, you look arrogant. How do you stick the landing here?
It is a delicate balance for sure. You are transitioning into your concluding paragraph, which requires a brief synthesis of why you are the ideal fit for their culture and the role. But the critical engine of this final section is the call to action.
Okay, now in digital marketing, a call to action is a bright red button that says, click here to buy now. I'm assuming we shouldn't type hire me now at the bottom of the letter.
Not unless you want to guarantee you won't get hired.
Right.
In a cover letter, a call to action means confidently prompting the next step of the process. You are expressing your desire to discuss your qualifications further in an interview setting.
But my fear here would be sounding, I don't know, presumptuous. I don't want to write, I will call you on Tuesday at noon to set up my interview. That feels like overstepping the boundary we worked so hard to establish at the top of the page.
Yeah, you avoid dictating terms, absolutely. But you also avoid weak, pleading language.
Like what?
You do not say, I hope you might maybe consider talking to me if you happen to have some free time.
Right, you sound desperate.
You want to assume the conversation will continue based on the strength of the argument you just made. So you write something like, I would welcome the opportunity to discuss how my background and operational efficiency will be of value to the logistics team.
Well, that's good. It's confident, it reiterates your value, and it clearly states what you want to happen next.
Exactly. And then you also need to direct them to the enclosed resume as a polite signpost. And of course, thank them for their time.
Professional courtesy never goes out of style. Which brings us to the absolute final words on the page. Pillar 6, the professional sign-off.
Yes.
Now, this is where we circle back to the scenario from the very beginning of our deep dive. The hiring manager throwing the application in the trash. Why can't I just sign off with the word cheers or best? I mean, I see best in corporate emails all day long.
True, but there is a massive psychological distinction between an internal corporate email and a formal business document that represents first contact.
Oh, okay.
When you work with someone every day, you earn a level of informality. Best, or cheers, is fine for a colleague you just had lunch with. But a cover letter requires strict formality to signal your adaptability to workplace norms.
So it's less about the words themselves being like magical and more about proving you understand the context of the situation.
Precisely.
You know how to dress up for the occasion.
Perfectly stated. The framework lists the standard acceptable sign-offs. Sincerely, best regards, or respectfully yours, always followed by a comma.
And no emojis.
0 emojis, please. You type your formal sign-off, you hit enter, and you type your full name. And there's one final mechanical detail the framework emphasizes here.
What's that?
If you are providing a physical printed copy of this letter, say you are handing it directly to a recruiter at a college job fair, or you're bringing it to an in-person interview, you must leave physical space between your sign-off and your typed name.
So you can actually sign it with a pen.
Yes, a handwritten signature in ink.
It's a physical mark of deliberate effort.
I like that. It shows you didn't just hit print on a batch of 50 letters. You actually sat down, reviewed this specific document, and literally signed your name to the argument you just made.
It finalizes the professional contract you are trying to initiate.
Man, when you step back and look at the whole journey we've just taken, it really changes how you view that blinking cursor.
It really does. We started with the fear of the blank page, but by understanding the psychology of the reader, the page just becomes a tool. You build trust with a clean header and a respectful salutation. You wake them up with a factual hook that ties your enthusiasm or your accomplishments to their reality.
Right.
You translate your raw ingredients into a recipe in the body paragraphs, proving you can solve problems or save time. You confidently prompt the next step with your call to action, and then you lock it all in with a formal sign-off.
You are no longer just begging for a job. You are presenting a highly tailored logical argument for why your specific set of skills is the exact solution they have been looking for.
It's incredibly empowering. It really puts the control back in the hands of the applicant.
It does. And, you know, if I can leave you with one final thought to mull over as you prepare to write your next application.
Yeah, absolutely.
We spent a lot of time discussing how to prove you can solve problems or save time for the employer in your body paragraphs, which implies that the most crucial part of writing a successful cover letter actually happens before your hands ever touch the keyboard.
How so?
Well, If you look at the job listing you want right now, you need to read between the lines of the corporate jargon.
Okay.
What is the hidden, painful problem that this company is desperate to solve by hiring for this entry-level role? Like, why are they spending money to put a person in this seat? Figure out what that hidden problem is.
Oh, wow.
Once you know that, you just have to ask yourself, which of my unique experiences proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am the one equipped to solve it?
Find the hidden problem and you find your pitch. Suddenly you aren't staring at a blank page anymore. You are just writing down the solution.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take this framework, conquer your next application, and step into the job market with absolute confidence. We'll catch you next time.